So here's the drawing that I'm starting out with to make a plushie out of. This was 6-year-old Violet's drawing of Huggy Wuggy, which I didn't know at the time, and my job was to make a plushie out of it. I'll talk a little bit more about Violet and her story as we go through the making of this. So off to the fabric store I went. I checked 2 different stores. I was looking for a blue shag fabric, but I couldn't find anything like that. So there I am. I got this blue swirl minky fabric, which is very silky and cuddly, so it turned out nicely. And then for the hands and feet in that yellow, just some yellow polar fleece. Now that I've got my fabrics picked out, I'm ready to digitize this. So I'm going to make the face on the embroidery machine with the applique features and embroidered eyes and lips and teeth and stuff. And so I'm going to go ahead and digitize that using Embird software. This is software that creates embroidery designs. So I import the drawing into Embird, and then I can just go ahead and create my little shapes on top of the drawing, and that way I can get pretty precise. For the teeth, rather than do each shape separately, I just copy and paste and rotate and flip and resize some things, and that worked out very nicely. The teeth all look really jagged, so I like how that worked out. And then for the mouth, he's got this nice curvy mouth and his lips are uneven, so I made sure that the design, and this is going to be a wide satin stitch all the way around an applique base, so black fabric and then the white stitched teeth and then the red stitched mouth. And I decided to do these eyes as applique too, so I lay down some black fabric, it's a fleece fabric, and then just do the white, kind of an uneven white around each of the eyes there. It doesn't look like much right now, but once you see it on the plushie, it looks very different. Then it looks like this. It looks a lot more authentic to the drawing now that the face is appliqued and stitched onto the blue fabric. And because I have a machine with an 8 by 12 inch hoop, that's a pretty large hoop, so I go ahead and do the seams for the head and body on the machine as well. That way I get the exact shape that I wanted in the program. All the stitching is done, and I should have mentioned I used tearaway stabilizer in the hoop, so it just tears away from the seams and pull it off of all the facial features and everything. And within the hoop projects, what you do is you stitch first and cut second. So now I'm cutting away the excess fabric, and I'm using about an 1/8 to 1/4 inch seam allowance. Minky fabric doesn't fray, so that's fine. I'm just cutting those curves so that he gets the nice neck shape that I was going for. And then just turn him right side out. And here he comes. I love this part. There he is. Just pull that plastic topper away. That's to make the stitches sit on top of the fabric nicely. He's done with the head and body, and I've stuffed it and got it pretty firmly stuffed. So I should mention a little bit about Huggy Wuggy, because like I said, I didn't know that I was making a video game character. Here he is right here in Poppy Playtime. I thought I was making just a child's drawing, and I found out about at this point in my process that this was from a video game. I'm gonna crush his head right there. Crush your head, Huggy Wuggy. So he looks really innocent there, but you see the drawing is really bloody because later in the game he chases you and he catches you and the game's over. For those of you who are wondering about the bloody drawing from a 6-year-old, so let me address that. The thing that is going on with Violet is so much worse than the scary video game monster. About a month ago, Violet was diagnosed with something called DIPG, which we'd never heard of before. It's very rare, a very rare form of brain cancer. No video game monster is as scary as DIPG and what Violet and her family are having to deal with right now. So when the request that my sister gave me to make a plushie out of this drawing came in, and at first I was like, wow, that's quite a drawing for a little kid. And then I heard what was going on and I dropped everything to make this for her. There is a GoFundMe for Violet if you want to read more about her story and get more details there. If you can help out even with a few dollars, that would be amazing. And I'm trying to get through this without my voice breaking up, but you know, I'm failing here. So I'm going to get back to making the Huggy Wuggy because that's what you're watching for. Here we go. Did something a little different for the arms and legs because he's got really long, lanky arms and legs. So I just took about 4 inches wide of this minky fabric and I did like 2 foot long tubes and then cut them in half. So each one of the limbs, the arms and legs, are 4 inches wide by 12 inches long, and then just sewed up one side into a tube. And then I'm using a very long pair of hemostats to turn them right side out, which is very easy because minky fabric is slippery. And so it turns right side out very easily, especially with those long hemostats. This was easy. Here's something I did a little unusual when I stuffed these long, lanky arms and legs. I didn't want them to be really lumpy. I wanted them to be like floppy. So I took this kind of fluffy beige fabric that I have. I have a lot of it, and I had like scraps and stuff, but they were long, lanky scraps. So I just rolled it up and then used these long hemostats and pulled it into the tube like that. And then that way it gives the arm, like, it looks stuffed, but it's still really floppy and wobbly. So that worked out very nicely. And then when I stitch those limbs onto the body and then the hands and feet on, I go ahead and stitch through that, the blue fabric and the beige fabric, and that'll hold it in place so it won't get all bunched up inside. Probably not a stuffing technique you see very often, but it works very well. And it uses up scraps. I didn't capture the digitizing of the hands and feet, but because I wanted a very specific shape and I wanted them to match, I went ahead and digitized that very quickly and then put that on the machine and stitched out all four, both hands, both feet, all in that 8x12 hoop on the polar fleece. Worked easy. And like before, I just tear away that tearaway stabilizer. It comes off the seams pretty easily. And then I cut out the shapes, turn them right side out, and they're ready to be attached to the limbs. Oh, and I forgot, you have to stuff the hands and feet too. A little bit of fiber fill in there. And then I just doll needle and some strong upholstery thread, and I hand stitched every hand and foot onto the limbs, and then hand stitched the limbs onto the body. And that was a time-consuming process, so I won't bore you with all of that. But now I have a nice, strong, they're firmly attached. They're not going to come off. This can be machine washed. There's no glue anywhere. Everything is hand stitched or machine stitched. It's very sturdy. That is the finished Huggy Wuggy. He's nice and soft and floppy and turned out really great. I'm very happy with it. He's nice and huggable. So I packed him all up, and I also included a puppet that I made, and this is also done with the embroidery machine, and this was for Violet's big brother so he can entertain her with his new puppet while she has her Huggy Wuggy, and shipped those off to them. And Violet was very happy with her Huggy Wuggy. Here she is, and it may look like she's not that happy, but she has lost some of the muscle control in her face, so she can't really smile right now. I'll leave a link in the description box to the GoFundMe if you could help out with Violet's mountain of climbing medical expenses. That would be, like I said, amazing, and the family would really appreciate it. I will bring you more plushies and machine embroidery in the next video. Thanks for watching.